I'm not sure where you think I am right now, but I'm not anywhere near where I want to be and where I will be. So I've transitioned from doing all my lettings and management stuff that you may have heard about before if you've watched some of my other stuff. I've now transitioned onto large development projects, of which I'll be starting next year, which I'm going to definitely document. So there's those projects there that I've moved on to. So I suppose that's my position, is sort of gone from small time letting agent, property manager to, in effect, small time developer, I'd say. I'm not huge. I could have probably done and moved on to the larger projects. I started them in 2017, but I could have probably started another 2 years before that. So best case scenario could have been maybe 6 years. 7, 8 years is the answer in effect. But I just wanted to give you some background as to what's actually going on. Again, it comes down to your personal circumstances. If you're living a very comfortable lifestyle and you've got maybe some investments out there, maybe you earn a good salary, you've got a very small mortgage, your house is worth a bit, maybe you're in a position where you don't need to release or refinance or take any equity out of your house because you're already living good. So it's not a necessity or necessarily a good thing to do, it depends on your circumstance. Clearly when you refinance, your payments are going to go up because you're financing to get more money out. So you've got to pay off your current loan and get a new loan out. So that little money that's left over between the two and that refinance or remortgage is the money you're going to be left with. If you're then going to use that money to then invest and you can properly do that, then that's also a very good option to do. So again, it comes down to your individual circumstance, but I think it can be a very good thing. Releasing equity. Maybe you want to use the money to pay off debts. Maybe you want to use it to go crazy and buy yourself a car. It's whatever you want to do. But if you're in it to invest, it's certainly a great way to access funds. If you don't ordinarily have money or you don't have the cash to do it, then that's an amazing way to get money out to do it. But again, you want to educate yourself first. Take your time, start off small, and take it from there. Yes, in general, you do need good credit to get a mortgage, but it doesn't need to be excellent credit. It depends on the lender, but your interest rate may be a bit higher, so it might be a more expensive product. But yeah, it's possible. But there's other ways to get into property that I've told you about. As a whole, I don't think there'll be a crash. I think that the UK market is pretty strong as it stands. Some markets may have impact, as we've seen already in places like London where the prices are quite high. So maybe there'll be some skepticism from investors internationally, but I think the domestic market will remain pretty strong, and things like Help to Buy always help to push new sales of new homes and apartments. But again, I don't really operate in that part of the market. I'm more into building student accommodation and PRS to retain, as per like the last recession, back in 2008, 2009. The student market was relatively unscathed. It's interesting, a bit more interesting now as there's a lot more stock on the market, but again, I can't see it impacting what I do massively. But if I was a developer building units and then sell on, I'd be slightly more concerned if they're not something that's appealing to the first time buyer. Then there's definitely a lot more risk involved with those properties. I wouldn't necessarily say I've got an end goal in property, because I always want to be accumulating and improving what I've got, and then I'll obviously dispose of some assets in time. But generally, my goal is to hold assets for long-term growth and long-term income. So let's just continually accumulate, provide a great brand, product, service to residents, and as I've posted about previously, create an experience for residents, and we'll have accommodation from literally cradle to grave, as cringe-worthy as that may sound, but we want to be there every step of the way when somebody needs accommodation, from students, co-living, right through to build-to-rent houses and retirement living. Interested in hearing from them, but the need is probably going to be next to none. I mean, I'm pretty much phasing out the refurbishment of houses now, so the procurement of tradespeople like contractors and electricians and the like are going to be less in my hands and more in the contractors' hands that are building my larger projects, as I definitely don't get involved in that side. Thanks for reaching out, Herman. Finish your course, be the best you can be. Get the best grades you can get, learn as much as you can, get hands-on experience. Can you go and work for some quantity surveyor companies or individuals? Can you be their understudy? Can you get some hands-on real experience? It's a great and unique position to be coming from as a quantity surveyor. So if you can use that and bring your expertise as a quantity surveyor to your role as a property investor, developer, then you're in good stead and you'll be in a great position to then go out and get investors or funding, whatever it is required, because you're coming from a realistic view, at least on the cost perspective. Do the course first, get great, get experience, leverage on other people's experience, and then move on eventually to your own deals. Don't try and run before you can walk. I've only been on one property course in my life, and that was something that I won for free, and that was just a half a day course with somebody that was teaching about property. And I couldn't really recommend any. I've heard good things and bad things about a bunch of them. There are some fucked up guys out there teaching courses that have very bad reputations, not that much experience in actually doing deals, and offering very poor value for money. But one thing that I will tell you that is what I've heard the most about pretty much all courses is that it's more about the network and the people you meet than the content. The content is out there. In my humble opinion, I think the biggest and most successful property people out there are not teaching courses. The biggest and most successful, even on YouTube, that's probably going to change. The beasts really are doing their own thing generally. But there's a new wave. There's guys coming up like me and nobody. But in a few years I'll have a lot of stuff that I would have delivered. So I'll tell you what gets to me though. Some people have only been doing it 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden you're a teacher. You haven't even been through a downturn. How can you teach property? Why don't you get good at doing actual deals first and come back and teach it? I've got interest in helping people out, but for me personally, deals are always going to be number one. So that was my Q&A. I hope you enjoyed my Q&A. Again, it was off the top of my head. Probably not as comprehensive as some of you may have liked, so if you want me to expand on something that I've spoken about a bit more, comment below and tell me what that is, and I'll create a video on it. Keep the questions coming, comment below, subscribe, turn on the bell notifications, and I'll see you in the next video.